Porkins Policy Radio, offering a unique perspective on everything. Geopolitics, culture creation, the reality of the world we live in. Coming to you live from New York City, your host, Pierce Redmond.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Porkins Policy Radio. As always, I am your host, Pierce Redmond, and you can find this show here at American Freedom Radio, AmericanFreedomRadio.com, as well as my website, which is PorkinsPolicyReview.com. And if you are new to the show, there are lots of ways to listen. You can follow me or follow the show through iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, Podbean, Player FM, a whole bunch of other podcatchers that I'm probably forgetting. Of course, I'm on YouTube. You can always follow the RSS feed directly. And also listen on Friday nights when I am replayed on a host of other networks, including Awake Radio, People's Internet Radio, PSN, and also Ed Opperman's Spreaker channel. If you want to support the work that I do, I encourage you to make two donations. One to American Freedom Radio, and you can do that just by clicking on the donate button at AFR's website, and you can become a monthly subscriber, or you can have a recurring donation through PayPal to AFR, and you can also go to patreon.com/Pierce Redmond, and you can become a subscriber of mine for as little as $1 a month, which gives you access to the bonus podcast. And very quickly, I think I missed a whole bunch of Patreon recent additions to Patreon, so I might be repeating some names, but if I am, bear with me, and if I've forgotten your name, I will definitely make sure to mention you soon. But thank you to Luke, Jimmy, Travis, Thor, Seth, Angus, Sean, Al, Elliot, Mickey, and also big thanks to Ray Novoselsky, who also signed up very recently. And we, of course, I did a great show with Ray. Also want to big thank you to my friend Katie Aguilera, who also signed up on Patreon. And I highly encourage you to check out Katie's writing at seekingredress.com, and I'll link up to that as well in the show notes. And also a very a strange thank you to Rich Blee, who signed up for Patreon. I'm not sure if this is the same CIA officer, Rich Blee, although this Rich signed up just after I had John Duffy and Ray Novoselsky on the show talking about Rich Blee. So if that is you, Rich, thank you for signing up to Patreon. And also very quickly, I just want to mention that a new episode of Open Minds on Air is available, both on at openmindsfoundation.org and also on my website. Really fun episode we did looking at pop culture and undue influence. It's part of a new series, so do check that out. And also wanted to very briefly plug an interview. I did a pre-recorded show with Patrick Knowlton a week ago, and I'll probably be playing that next Tuesday. And Patrick Knowlton, of course, famous for being in Fort Marcy Park just after the death of Vince Foster. So definitely look out for that. But we have a jam-packed show today. We are doing a 2018 Midterm Election Special. And here in the first hour, we are joined by a good friend and frequent guest on the show, JP Sottile, the News Vandal. Of course, you can find all of JP's work by going to newsvandal.com. And, I think all the listeners know where to find your stuff, JP. How are you?
Are we there yet?
Yes, I know.
Have we made it there? Is this the end? Oh, no, it's not the end. No. We're going to have talking heads standing in front of maps, talking about their blah, 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 about what the next blah, blah, blah is going to be. One of the things that I'm going to be happy to see the end of are news talking heads, news readers, turning to analysts and saying, how do you think this will play out?
Yeah.
I'm ready for that to be, I want data. I'm looking for data.
No, we were remarking that before we were live, just, is this over? And of course it's never over, but there is something about this particular election cycle, this midterm election season, that does seem like it's sort of been going on forever. And of course, immediately, probably starting tomorrow or Thursday, Donald Trump will be, in presidential campaign mode. So we've got that to look forward to as well. I am with you though, JP. I am interested to see the actual data, because thus far it's been a lot of, as you said, talking heads turning to analyst talking heads talking about what they think might happen.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a lot of hard, I don't know, you've probably been up for a couple hours right now following everything today. Is there anything data-wise that you found yet, or again, is it just way too early?
No, there is some data because of the early voting. And last night, a guy who tracks this and actually he has a spreadsheet online and goes to every single state and gets the tabulation. As of, I think, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock last night, it looked like early voting was going from 36 million towards 40 million. And if that's true, let's say if it got to 40 million overnight, which I haven't followed up and checked, but let's just say he projected it was going to reach 40 million by the time he was done his tabulations, that would be about a 12 to 13 million vote increase over early voting in the previous midterms. So, one of the things that I'm looking for, something that stayed with me, I think I mentioned it on the show when we talked about Trump's election in the past a long time ago. It feels like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Was something Celinda Lake said about a day, I think it was the next day, or it may have been the second day early in the morning. So I've always put it into sort of like a 36-hour period, but it was very, very immediately after Trump's upset election in 2016, which, oh, by the way, isn't really an upset, because if you look at the aggregate polling numbers, actually the election turned out as the polling kind of indicated, with a 2-point win essentially, or 1.5 to 2-point win for Hillary Clinton, which is what she got in the popular vote. It just didn't break down into the electoral college the way people anticipated. But the polling was basically accurate. What was not accurate, and this is what Celinda Lake brought up, were the turnout models. And Democrats expected 5 more million voters to show up in 2016. They didn't show up. And that night, I remember I was actually on the air with Chuck Ocelli at the Ocelli Effect when the electometer, I like to call it, on New York Times went from Hillary Clinton likely to win to Donald Trump potentially winning, and you could just see it happening in real time, and it was happening particularly in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida as the results were coming in. But I remember that night I was also looking at some Senate races and some House races, and had those 5 million people showed up that night, it is possible that not only Hillary Clinton would have won, but the Democrats might have taken the Senate. Which you can see, you just look back, that would be a radical change in course over what we've seen over the last 2 years. So I'm figuring that part of this surge in early voting, it's those people who were demoralized, likely voters and registered voters that the Democrats were counting on. They were demoralized by having Hillary Clinton at the top of the ticket. Hillary Clinton is not there. I think those 5 million people show up. But then also you have this other thing colliding with it, which is this massive influx of women into the political process, running at state, local, county elections, all across the board. And also the first time ever, women are out giving politically men, women giving more money than men on the Democratic side, which, that's one of those canaries in the coal mine kind of thing, although that's not really a good analogy if you're a Democrat, I guess. So I'm not a Democrat, so I play fast and loose, but those kind of portend a massive wave. But I think everybody is spooked by what's happened in the last election. And I think there's also this other thing, because I've watched all of the Trump rallies. I've been watching them all over the last 2 weeks. And we can talk about why I've done that. It's not just because I'm trying to like make up for past sins and I'm doing some penance, but there's a real reason for me to watch those. But there is enthusiasm there with his base, and I think that there was a Kavanaugh blowback that is really, really hard to account for in polling, and it is possible that white Republican-leaning women who voted for Trump in the last election could get into the voting booth and vote contrary to what people expect them to vote, and then that could muddy the thing. And then also, by the way, there's the wild card of the evangelical turnout, which Donald Trump wisely, from his point of view, and from the point of view of turning out evangelicals, when he made transgender an issue 12 days ago, he continued to stoke that evangelical base, and I could tell you that the Christian Broadcasting Network has been going nuts promoting Donald Trump over the last 10 or 11 days, and those wild cards make it very, very difficult to call what's going to happen tonight. That's for sure.
No, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking right now on Real Clear Politics and just looking at all the different polls over the past couple of days and stuff. And I mean, it really still is. I guess, I mean, that always happens, as you get closer and closer to election day, polls narrow, but these are like really narrow. I mean, where it really is like a toss up. I'm seeing like, Dana Rohrabacher is, right. Is down by like 1 point.
Yeah, that's one that I'm looking at because I want to see Rohrabacher and I want to see Steve King. I want to see how those go because I want to see how the hard right, Duncan Hunter is another guy who I think is likely to win in spite of running one of the most racist ads you'll ever see. I don't know, you know what I'm talking about? About this guy Jazar is running against and said that he was a link to the Muslim Brotherhood. He's trying to infiltrate Congress, and at the end of this anti-Islam, anti-brown person screed, it's Duncan Hunter in his full Marine regalia. It's saying, "I'm Duncan Hunter, and I endorse this message. I endorse killing the brown people." Yeah. So I'm looking at those because I think that a lot of what we have here, the subtext is this is a referendum on white nationalism. I think that's built into this election, and that's what I'm most interested in about this election, to see how that goes. But I think one is Kentucky 6. There's the Comstock race in Virginia. There are about 4 or 5 races in Virginia, 3 or 4 races in Pennsylvania, a half dozen races in California. Orange County is in play. These are all places where the suburbs are going to determine the shape of this election. And these are places where I think polling is limited because what polling really goes after mostly are likely voters and registered voters. Now, I think there's one poll, and it could be the Marist poll if I remember correctly. Marist does kind of this, they have this weighted voting kind of formula where if you're an unlikely voter, they actually only give you like 7 of 10 points. If you're a likely voter, you get 10 out of 10 points, so that it skews it toward including unlikely voters into the polling, which often get excluded in most polling, and gives them some carry, but weights more positively people who are registered voters who vote consistently, anticipating they are the ones most likely to show up, unlike the unlikely voters. But in this election, this is another one of those wild cards, like those people who came out and voted for Donald Trump, who had not voted because they were demoralized by the electoral system for 8 to 12 or longer years, because there are a lot of first-time voters for Trump. There could be a whole new bevy of first-time voters who will come out and vote for Democrats. And of course, we can come back around to the another subtext, which is I don't think if Democrats do take the House and in some sort of amazing inside straight are able to pull even 50-50 in the Senate, or maybe even get to 51, or at least hold their ground in the Senate. One thing the Democrats shouldn't do is think that they got a mandate for their party, because it's really not about the Democratic Party at all, except for in a few key races. Yeah, no, well, it really, it is more just not voting for Trump.
Or simply maybe, it's when the only other option are the blue guys, when you see how many Republicans there are, then, Michael Swanson was talking about this on the Ocasio Effect not that long ago, and he said, that he was going to vote, straight Democrat simply because there needed to be some sort of a check on all these Republicans there, and that's a very pragmatic way of voting. But I think there is something to be said for that as well. I know that if you're a diehard MAGA supporter, the notion of having one political party in power sounds wonderful. Although, it's like we don't live in China, or theoretically. So it's funny that they're so sort of gung ho about just having, one party in power kind of dictating everything. So I think a lot of people are kind of viewing it like that. And I was listening to, Washington Journal on C-SPAN this morning. And, there were a lot of people that were, kind of voting just based on that. Just, calling in saying that, I am a diehard Republican, but there needs to be some semblance of, a balance or a check on all this power. One
of the great markers for that is the right track, wrong track poll. This is the country on the right track or is it on the wrong track? And Alan Lichtman, I can't remember what university he's with, but Alan Lichtman has been very, very good at predicting elections. He actually predicted Trump's win. And he is one of the evangelists of using the right track, wrong track poll to predict elections. And if the country thinks that the country is on the wrong track, the country's going to go a different direction. And so while you were talking, I went to the Real Clear average, because one of the things that Real Clear Politics does is they'll take 10 polls and then they'll give you an average, and it's a very good aggregate number. And so if you look at the right track, wrong track, right direction 39.5, wrong track 54.3. That's 14.8 points underwater in spite of the economy. And, that's one of those numbers that I think has a lot of people quietly saying, yeah, the Democrats are definitely taking the House and they actually have a shot at the Senate. But publicly, nobody wants to say that anymore because nobody wants to eat crow the way they did last time. But even though if you look at the numbers, the polling was actually right. It was the turnout models, which is why demoralization is such a crucial thing in today's electoral process. In many ways, a negative narrative that you can hang on your opponent is far more important than any positive vision you can give for your own candidacy.
Yeah. A lot I kind of want to just some kind of, I don't know, nitty gritty, weird political thing. Just, what do you think of Missouri with, McCaskill? Because that one to me feels like the most interesting, just because Trump has spent so much fucking time down there. Yeah. More so than I think any other state. I mean, he's really made that, and Missouri is interesting because, that one still seems kind of up in the air. It is very close, but, that one to me, I mean, his final rally was in Missouri. That one to me seems like a real kind of bellwether, cause again, Missouri does have a lot of urban areas, obviously. It has a lot of rural areas. And like you said earlier, I mean, the suburban vote in Missouri will probably be super important. But what do you think? I mean, and Claire McCaskill is, whether you like her or not, I mean, she's just been around for so long, and she does have this sort of I don't know, cachet as this, I don't know, maverick. I mean, I almost hate that word now because it means nothing in politics.
It does mean nothing.
She does kind of fit that mold. It would be crazy to see her go.
I can't call that race. I think prior to the Kavanaugh hearings, I thought she was actually going to cruise to a win because Josh Hawley is not the most charismatic. He's not Todd Akin, and somebody noted earlier today that that she's won like 22 races and lost one. Like she's got this amazing winning, and she always seems to pull it out. Now, Todd Akin, who she ran against last time, this was the guy who said a lot of really troublesome stuff about abortion and women and, rape. It did not go well for Todd Akin, and she's benefited from opponents who have a lot of baggage. But I think in this case, this is, Trump needs this win. I think they feel like they've got North Dakota soda, particularly since American Indians, Native Americans are going to have a really tough time voting there because of all of the voter suppression obstacles that have been put up in front of them. But who knows how that's going to play out today, because there could be a lot of that contested as the day goes on. But this is one of those races where, what do the suburbs do? Do the women? Is the MeToo sort of vote, for lack of a better term, is that going to carry Claire McCaskill, or did the Kavanaugh hearings, which propelled Josh Hawley a little bit and brought Republicans home and coalesced Republicans around him? Because let me backtrack a little bit. Not backtrack. I want to bring up one thing that I think is really amazing. About 3.5 or 4 weeks ago, an internal poll was leaked by the Republican National Committee. GOP bigwigs had a poll looking at assessing where the party was going in the midterms. And somehow it was leaked to the press. Ooh, we don't know who leaked it. Well, I know who leaked it. It was probably the head of the RNC, because they wanted it to be leaked, because one of the things that the RNC found was that voter enthusiasm was down for Republicans, and turnout was likely to suffer mightily because they had been listening to Donald Trump say that the blue wave was fake news, and that in fact there was going to be a red wave that was going to increase the Republican hold on Congress. And so Trump supporters said, well, I guess I don't have to vote because Donald Trump says the blue wave is fake news. And so they were scrambling for something, and Kavanaugh came as a perfect gift at a perfect time to reignite the culture wars, to bring up the idea of abortion, to bring evangelicals back home, to unite that base. But the question is what do these women do? Women who are college educated or have some college education, who tend to be married in the suburbs, who tend to be mothers, kind of the soccer mommy kind of thing. If those voters break towards McCaskill, she pulls it out. And I think that that's really going to be the case all around the country. Can some semblance of the Obama coalition be put together by people like Claire McCaskill, where non-white voters vote in proportions that are reminiscent of what Obama was able to get in terms of turnout? Are they going to be able to break away independent and college-educated women away from the Republican Party for good? And will that merge with a surge in Democratic turnout to hold? Because in pure numbers, when you just look at pure numbers, remember, Republicans, their percentage of the population that is Republican, their hold on that is down to 25%. That means 25% of Americans are registered Republicans. I believe that's like a 7-point loss over the last 3.5, 4 years. So the numbers are there. The question is do they show up?
Yeah. And just so people have a sense of this, I mean, looking at the Real Clear Politics average, between Hawley and McCaskill, it's Hawley is winning by like 0.2.
Yep.
So, or 0.6, excuse me. So, I mean, that literally is actually like, a few votes.
Yep.
And that is like a race where like every vote does count.
Yep.
And
by the way, if you go and look at that, I called it up because you were looking at it. If you go look, and isn't it interesting, around September, right? Kavanaugh thing starts to come to the fore. You start to see a flip between the two of them. And at the end of September, beginning of October, that's when Hawley starts to peak a little bit and starts to get an advantage. So it's it's interesting, Pierce, but women are going to decide this election. I mean, I think really that simple. I think I've said it's really that simple 5 times, so it must not be that simple. And for 5 different ways, it's really that simple.
No, but that does seem to be like one of the main kind of factors with all of this. Is the female vote when it comes to this. That seems to be a big one. And again, I mean, I think it's more than just the whole MeToo thing. But that does seem to be, really what's going to kind of ultimately decide a lot of this. What do you think? I mean, like, just looking kind of like, into the future. I mean, what do you predict, happens, tomorrow, Wednesday? I mean, if it sort of goes badly for Trump, how does he reconcile this? I mean, because he's now built, in places like Missouri, he has made that vote into a vote about him. It's no longer really about Hawley, or McCaskill. It's whether you support me, the president, or you support, the evil Democratic deep state that's going to kill all of you and let the migrants in. They're going to rape and pillage. He's made, and to a larger extent, he's made a lot of these races really about himself, which seems to be like his only real tactic. I mean, he can't really string, more than a few sentences together to talk about Hawley. He just keeps saying, the great, he's going to be great. He's going to go down in the history books. I mean, he can't actually point to something like why Hawley is any better. So again, he makes it about himself. How does he reconcile that if this sort of, I don't anticipate it going really bad for him, but it does, my kind of general sense, and again, it's early, it's only 3:27 here on the East Coast. But it does seem like it's not going to go well for him, or it's not going to go in the direction that he's saying. I don't think there's going to be a red wave. It does look like, all of these, I mean, the governor's races they're all going Democratic, which has a bigger impact than people tend to think.
Because of reapportionment. That's what, one of the things that governors lord over is when reapportionment comes, which is the new census data, and then you actually reapportion the way congressional districts are allocated. And that's one of the reasons why Pennsylvania had a Supreme Court case that found that basically the Republicans, when they got control, they created such a gerrymandered map that it was actually contrary to voting rights, to basic voting rights, and they had to redraw the map. That is going to be a crucial thing. I don't know, predicting the new conventional wisdom over the last 36 hours, which, here's the thing, the internal polling is really the good polling. I mean, the Democrats, Republicans have internal polling, and Trump and the White House are looking at internal polling. And at the end of last week, Donald Trump said, oh, well, we could lose the House. It could happen. It may happen, which was an interesting admission for him. And to me, the fact that he actually broached it makes it seem to me that he knows quietly that he is going to see a bloodbath in the House. And maybe that's one of the reasons why he spent so much time going to Missouri to try and save Hawley against McCaskill, because he desperately, desperately needs to have the Senate. He needs to have Mitch McConnell in control of the agenda in the Senate to preserve any sort of semblance. And the conventional wisdom that has emerged, which again is another one of these signals to me that their internal polling is saying, no, we think we're going to lose. But this conventional wisdom could be true, and that's that it actually benefits Trump to lose the House, because then he can spend the next 2 years talking about the evil obstructionists, and he can have a bête noire to run against, because I think one of the things Trump suffers from right now is that he does not have Hillary Clinton on the other side. And when he doesn't have a target, his arrows seem a little misguided, and sometimes they may actually come back to hurt Republicans, because I also know from the reporting, just the reporting is that over the last 5 or 6 days, a number of House Republicans, including Paul Ryan, actually implored Trump to stop talking about the Migrant Caravan because it was creating a backlash in these suburban areas. So, but that's how he runs, Pierce. I mean, he has to have it. And I actually, what I'm interested in mostly with this election is how over the course of the last 6 weeks in particular, I think Donald Trump has created the broad strokes of a functional neo-fascist ideology, a one that's rooted in blood and soil and group identity and the sanctity of our people. And when I say our people, he actually talks to his people. He says, "You are our people." He was at Indiana. He's targeting Joe Donnelly. That's another guy he really wants to knock out, because Joe Donnelly is really Indiana's Claire McCaskill. He's one of these Democrats like Claire McCaskill. You talked about her. You know, she is a little bit mavericky insofar as she's for strong border security. She said, I might even be willing to fund building the wall. Now, is that just her pandering at the end to try and cover her ass? Yes. But it's the kind of pandering that you would not hear in other Senate races, but you would hear it in North Dakota, Indiana, West Virginia, and Missouri. And so he's talking, he had an Indiana rally yesterday because he was in Indiana, Missouri, and wasn't in Virginia or something. He was talking about Donnelly. He said, if Donnelly gets elected, he will be totally against us, and he will never ever vote for us. Not vote for or against a specific policy or a bill or an economic idea, but vote against us. And he talked about protecting our heritage now. He talks about protecting our people. He's talking in these terms in which he's solidifying group identity, and it's around what? It's about foreign invaders who are working with domestic collaborators to undermine the American way of life and to undermine our people. So what I think will happen after the election is that he is going to quadruple down and quintuple down on this, because he is so tied not only to a confrontational political style, but he is tied to that base. And Pierce, I've watched him over the course of these last couple of weeks engage in a transactional relationship with the crowd, in which he and the crowd are, in a sense, developing this ideology together, because he is really doing everything based off of the call and response he receives from them. And I don't see that changing at all. As a matter of fact, I see him actually trying to supercharge that after whatever happens. He's going to try to supercharge it.
No, before when you were talking about his need of an enemy, I think that is sort of the only way he knows how to campaign. And I think, if truth be told, that's what he enjoys. Yeah. I don't think he likes, I don't think he likes, not necessarily like winning, cause clearly he does, but when he likes sort of his back against the wall, or at least the perception that his back is up against the wall. That, works better for him. Sure. And I think he's sort of, more comfortable in that. And it's funny because, he keeps talking about the economy and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, I mean, yeah, I'm sure it is better for a lot of people, but I don't think that really translates all that well. I think that even his diehard supporters, while they parrot those lines about, record unemployment and, the dollar is better than ever and all this other kind of crap, they know it's not really actually true.
And they're not experiencing it.
That's what I mean. They're not making more money. No. The unemployment problems in a lot of these rural areas, it's not better. It's all the same. But when he throws them, red meat about immigrants and, that really his Willie Horton ad, which is just, that one to me was just, I couldn't even really watch it. It was like so over the top. It was worse than the Willie Horton one.
And if you haven't, it's Bracamonte or something like that, a guy and it turns out that he actually came in to the country under the Bush administration. But this ad basically had this maniacal sort of serial killer type talking about how his only regret is he didn't kill more Americans. And the ad says that the Democrats let him in. And, last night, at the at the Indiana rally. He said, the Democrats want America to be a giant sanctuary city for drug dealers, gang members, and MS-13 killers. I was waiting for, and child molesters, and puppies, and, you know, the guy that broke your mom's window and ran away. I mean, everybody, right? They're going to let them all. But
ISIS.
Yeah, this economic point that you make is an important one, because one of the things that people who do left-wing analyses of fascism, sort of traditional Marxist analyses of fascism, they really focus on the idea that it's about moneyed interests weaponizing ideology to control the masses, essentially, and that it's an economic system in a sense, that fascism is an economic political system. But the appeal of fascism is that it transcends materialism, and it offers people an opportunity for a psycho-spiritual, communal experience that provides meaning to their lives beyond economic value. And that's what Nazi Germany did. That's what fascist Italy tried to do. That's what fascist Japan did. This is what I wrote my master's thesis on, and I've been published on this and given some talks on it at history conferences. It's not really about economics. And one of the things that I saw about 4 months ago was when Harley Davidson was talking about leaving Wisconsin and taking some jobs with it, right? Not completely leaving, but having some factories, some production, leave Wisconsin. People were interviewed and they said, well, yeah, I voted for Trump, and, you know, even though we may lose some jobs, I still believe in him. I still believe in him in spite of my economic self-interest. And when I look at these rallies, Pierce, what I see are people basically looking the same, lots of them wearing the red hats, cheering at the same lines, part of a communal experience that is hardening, that is congealing around these talking points and these what seem to us like sort of banal throwaway lines designed to sell. It's basically like we think he's still selling Trump steaks and Trump University and Trump water, but really what he's doing is creating a group identity that gives these people meaning beyond economics. And I think that it's too addictive of a call and response for him to give up. I mean, to talk economic policy, how is that ever going to compare to what you get when you can say one thing and get a whole crowd to chant USA, USA, USA repeatedly? I mean, really, you know, I mean, you're not going to pass that up.
Well, it's more political capital for him than talking about the economy. Even if the economy is quote unquote doing better, it's not as sexy as, ISIS, MS-13, rapists and drug dealers coming over, working together to, cripple America.
It's not just cripple America, to pollute your culture.
Yeah.
And this is also why he has these evangelicals, is that they think their culture is being polluted. And, you know, when people talk to me about what's going on in Trump's America, I remind them that if you look at corporate America, you see a totally different America coming out of the advertising and PR, operations of major corporations. When Governor Abbott of Texas was about to sign a trans bathroom bill, all the major oil companies, banks, major corporations in Houston and Dallas came together and sent a letter to Governor Abbott and said, please don't do this because this is bad for business. You saw what happened with North Carolina in the NBA. And then, you know, I was watching CBS Sunday Morning about 3 weeks ago, and at about 7:53 in the morning, they cut to commercial. And I do watch commercials because I'm going to tell you, folks, if you're looking for a rectal thermometer, find out what's going on in the culture.
A new catheter.
Yeah, you look at what's going on in the commercials. The commercials tell you exactly who they think you are when you're watching a show. But this was an early morning, CBS Sunday Morning. It's a national show. It used to be hosted by Charles Kuralt. And they come to commercial, and the second image for Capital One credit cards, a pair of black lesbians having a romantic dinner, sharing food and kissing. So when you're there, and we just in 2006 had Karl Rove put anti-gay marriage ballot initiatives on key states' ballots, particularly Ohio, where there was a surge of religious voters and African American religious voters who voted for George W. Bush in Ohio, and is one of the reasons why George Bush was able to capture that election, along with some potential malfeasance in Ohio that RFK Jr. Uncovered in Rolling Stone. But we've come a long way, and this shows two things. One, that in the aggregate, the culture is moving in one direction, but it also shows the people in the minority, the Trump supporter, that their culture is slipping away from them. And I think this is where this neo-fascist appeal that Trump is starting to generate with them and starting to sort of author on the fly with them is coming into play.
No, I would absolutely agree. I think that this, like you said, that this fascist, neo-fascist kind of sentiment that he stirs up at all of these rallies, and basically every time he opens his mouth at this point or tweets.
At this point, yeah.
It really is just, I mean, it's not even dog whistling anymore. I mean, he's like openly telling you exactly what these people want to hear. But I do wonder to the extent that this works, in the long term. I think, like you were saying, even like businesses, banks. I mean, these are groups that traditionally don't really give a shit about anybody other than banks and themselves, But when even they are like, listen, you can't pass this bill, or let's run ads about this. I mean, again, they don't really care about those people, but they understand the cultural realities that, and it's like, what, black lesbians use banks, why discriminate against, a potential client base there? So, so I wonder to the extent that Trump can kind of continue. I mean, I wonder if it's just like, all he's really hoping is, I just have to get elected one more time, and then that's it, and then, I don't really, cause the other funny thing too is, I think he wants, to an extent, to lose, say, the House, because then he doesn't actually need to pass anything. Because I mean, he's not really passing anything at the moment,
That's right.
Nothing of actual substance has gone through. The only things that he can run on are these like executive decisions, like the Iran deal. Well, okay, great. You ripped it up, but even though that had a fair amount of bipartisan support. It's certainly around the world it had support. So yeah, I think he needs those things, but I wonder if they're really going to last, because I think also on another level, people's perspectives are changing, are going in a different direction, where maybe it's not necessarily that they're like the Democratic Party, where they're trying to pander to every single group, but they will at least tolerate all of these other groups that historically, they would have been opposed to. I think that we're seeing that it's also going to be funny to see, this group, the sort of like lowest level MAGA supporters, where it's all, he loves black people and gay people and, minorities, and he's actually the most progressive when it comes to all these things. I mean, it'll be interesting to see where those people land, in a few years, because the rhetoric from Trump definitely seems to be shifting away from that group, even though he's cultivated this bogus image amongst a lot of people, that he is really this like open, he's the least racist president of all time, and look, he met with Kanye, so
but I don't think he's, I don't think he's really even peddling that anymore. I mean, you said it; it's quite out in the open, and the reporting is that the two Steves, Stephen Miller and Steve Bannon, are the ones who really have Trump's ear right now, or ears. I guess one on each ear. Somehow I feel like they would both be talking into the same ear at the same time, because what's the difference? They're both saying the same thing. And so I think that those illusions have been stripped away, particularly by this last 2 weeks of campaigning. I mean, this is the Southern strategy on steroids, with immigrants cast in the role that Black Americans used to be in. I mean, this is something that has worked. So I think there's actually, I hate to, be sort of melodramatic about this, but there really is something even bigger than Donald Trump, I think, on the ballot. And that's we have 50 years of Southern strategy style campaigning working. It worked for Nixon. It worked for Reagan. It worked for Herbert Walker Bush. I would say that in a way it kind of worked for Bill Clinton, because I draw a straight line from Willie Horton to the crime bill. And what was one of the things that Bill Clinton did on the way to the crime bill? Well, he was able to capture the Democratic Party and that election in no small part because of something he called the Sister Soldier moment, when in the campaign at a black sort of ecumenical leader, sort of religious ecumenical conference, prayer breakfasty thing, he called out Sister Soldier for rapping about a negative response to police violence, of all things, because that's what Sister Soldier was rapping about, was police violence, called her out for advocating the killing of cops, and said that black people have to call that out too. And that sort of minted him, for a lot of white suburban voters. It worked. And it's working again now. It worked for Donald Trump in 2016. I wrote this thing up about it. You unpacked Donald Trump. He marbled all of his appeals with racism. But that was marbling. Now we're just saying it. Now we're just saying it, right? Now it's just the open. And you look at the racist robocalls that were logged in major races, the gubernatorial races of Florida and Georgia, that those robocalls are going out now. That's stuff that I was studying in 1988 when I was looking at white Aryan resistance and Christian identity movement and Tom Metzger. So we have this 50-year history of this sort of white nationalism brewing. And now it's popping up in places like the Federalist and Unzreader, and it's there, right? I mean, it's a tangible thing. The Proud Boys, and you could say it's a small group, but it's the tangible thing that's out there publicly. And you have a president who's calling and responding with them. So I think that this is not about the Democratic Party. This is about Trump, and Trump as an avatar for that kind of American thinking, a long history of that kind of thinking in American life. And if it does not get beaten back over the next 12 to 24 hours, I expect it to flourish.
Which is a deeply disturbing prediction. And we should also, I think, just point out that really Trump is merely a puppet to an extent with all of this. I mean, when you talked about the two Stevens, Miller and Bannon, they really are the ones that are kind of feeding this
and
crap
Fox,
to him.
and Bill Shine and Sean Hannity.
I was shocked that Hannity was at a rally. I mean, it really
and so was Judge Jeannie and Rush Limbaugh.
I mean, Limbaugh is one thing. I mean, he's never pretended to be anything other than just pill popping.
It's an important thing to have him on the stage. You see, I think that you are seeing this coalescing, and this is actually, look, as I think I don't know how I put it the other day. I said, but if fascism comes to America, right? Doesn't it make perfect sense that our Hitler is a smarmy TV reality game show host?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what our Hitler would be.
Yeah,
right?
Right, exactly.
Culture, that's what it would be.
Yeah.
And Hannity and Bill Shine, if you folks aren't familiar, I'm sure your folks are familiar with Bill Shine, but Bill Shine was right-hand man for Roger Ailes. He was a guy who did a lot of the cover-up stuff on Roger Ailes' sexual scandals, and he has moved over and become communications director at Trump's White House. The fact that you never hear about him being reported, unlike previous directors, tells you something about what a pro he is.
Yeah.
And he is now fully correlating what's going on in the White House with what's coming out of Fox News. And Fox News, think about this. If you wanted a puppet, and you call them a puppet, let's just say you were the Mercers, and maybe you were the Kochs, and maybe you had a lot of money, and you were right-wing people like Adelson. And just imagine if all you had to do every day was program your morning television station, the television programming on your station every morning. You just had to program it with all the ideas you wanted your puppet to parrot for that day. If all you had to do was run that show, you'd be in heaven. If you had a leader that would sit in front of it every day and take orders. And that's pretty much what Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is a vessel in which these people are pouring this stuff, and he's pouring it out. And in some ways, that does mirror the sort of the Marxist critique of fascism, which is that a demagogue is picked by moneyed elites to lead the people and control.
Well, and it's also like state-run, propaganda channel. I mean, there's like no difference now between. I mean, I'm being a little dramatic, but there's not a big difference between like North Korean state TV and Fox and Friends.
Okay, well, this brings me back to an interesting point you made about him and the Congress and why he wouldn't want the House to go to the other side so that he doesn't have to talk about why he's not getting anything done, because they've had Congress all this time and they've accomplished almost nothing, right? So he has a rationale for saying, look, it's the obstructionists, because nobody believes him when he says obstructionist now, right? Yeah. So he can actually make a convincing case. And I think this is a key thing. Fox News is not state television yet. It's still a private enterprise. And in a sense, Donald Trump and Trumpism is still a private enterprise that's operating inside the government. It hasn't become the government yet. That's why America is not a fascist nation, right? And so I think this is why if Trump were to capture the House and the Senate for 2 more years, I think you would then see all of the politicking of the last 2 to 3 weeks and all of that sort of nascent ideology that's built into it would then, I think, over the next 2 years translate into specific policies, particularly a massive, massive crackdown on immigration and real concrete, identifiable changes in governance that went along and mirrored the ideology that was being formulated over the course of the campaign. And that's when you really you're cooking and you're heading towards the road to fascism. Because when it's one thing to have the party come into power, the party has to exert itself and reshape the government and its image. And that's really when it takes root.
And again, not to be so kind of doom and gloom, but just along the lines that you were talking about there, JP, with these psychos like John Bolton,
yes,
behind the scenes, again, a true puppet master. If you have all those things, you've got the totally MAGA controlled Congress, House and Senate, Supreme Court, obviously now with Kavanaugh, and the president. I mean, then you can really push like the more psychotic things that Bolton and Giuliani have been talking about for years.
That's right.
That's how you get into like a actual war with Iran, boots on the ground, bombing Tehran and other major cities. I mean, so that's a little, because we haven't seen that yet. And here we are at the break. So I want to thank JP Sottile of newsvandal.com for joining us in the first hour. And we will be joined in the second hour by Ed Opperman. But JP, thank you.
All right, take care.
like freedom.
Oh, yes, I like very much.
Radio. You're an American institution. American Freedom Radio.
Have you experienced the miracle of CBDs? They can help you reduce suffering, reduce stress, help you sleep better, modulate inflammation in the body, and is absolutely safe. Meta Hemp Solutions offers a radically innovative approach to CBDs for exceptional results. Stop suffering and reduce your stress now. Isn't it time for a good night's sleep? Stop worrying about tomorrow today. Lab tested for potency, purity, and is non-psychoactive. Free shipping to all 50 states. Try our product risk-free. Money-back guarantee. Use code AFR15 to get 15% off. That's Alpha Foxtrot Romeo 15 to get 15% off. Offer ends soon, so visit MetaHemp Solutions today at metahempsolutions.com or call 833-858-7500. Suffer no more. Get rid of the stress and sleep better. Get our product now at metahempsolutions.com. That's metahempsolutions.com.
This is Rick Simpson, and you're listening to American Freedom Radio.
Are the trials of modern-day living getting to you? Feeling tired all the time with no energy? Is proper nutrition a challenge? Having trouble sleeping? All of these evils, sleeplessness, tiredness, poor nutrition, and stress, wreak havoc on our bodies and minds. Enerfood, our incredible organic superfood, has been here to save your life day by day for over 14 years. With the densest nutrition on the planet, Enerfood is filled with 20 superfoods and super herbs designed to cure the evils of modern life. Enerfood will turn you into a superhero, and your family and friends will notice. Don't you want that get-up-and-go feeling you need to seize the day? Why wait? Try it today and start feeling great again. Order now at www.enerfood.com and use the code TR15 for 15% off. Or call 866-762-9238 to place your order by phone. Use code TR15 for 15% off Enerfood at www.enerfood.com.
When the weapons of mass destruction turned out not to be true, I expected the American people to rise up. They didn't. Then, when the Abu Ghraib torture thing surfaced, and it was revealed that our government participated in rendition, a practice where we kidnap people and turn them over to regimes who specialize in torture, I was sure then the American people would be heard from. We stood mute. Then came the news that we jailed thousands of so-called terrorist suspects, locked them up without the right to a trial or even the right to confront their accusers. Certainly, we would never stand for that. We did. And now it's been discovered the executive branch has been conducting massive illegal domestic surveillance on its own citizens, you and me. And I at least consoled myself that finally, the American people will have had enough. Evidently, we haven't. In fact, if the people of this country have spoken the messages, we're okay with it all.
You're listening to AmericanFreedomRadio.com, the network who perseveres in delivering intelligent debate, constructive dialogue with true independence. The freedom to broadcast the truth is not free at all. So what is American Freedom Radio worth to you? The empowering information with fun, honest and pure integrity behind it provides an example to follow, friendships to flourish, with the moral altruism that pulls no punches. The hosts sacrifice and show remarkable discipline in their duty to deliver quality radio in service to the community with strength, wisdom and loyalty. The founders of AFR wish to thank you personally for sharing your views and insights to make the best radio and alternative media. Now it's time for you to give something back and play a vital role in the future of America. Be as generous with us as we've been with you. Click on the donate banner at AmericanFreedomRadio.com or volunteer by emailing AmericanFreedomRadio@ymail.com. Vaccine, psychotropic drugs and artillery batteries not included.
Launch sequence initiated.
We're now in the approach phase. Everything looking good. Control is good. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
Prepare your mind to experience American Freedom Radio. Porkins Policy Radio, offering a unique perspective on everything. Geopolitics, culture creation, the reality of the world we live in. Coming to you live from New York City, your host, Pierce Redmond.
For putting that together. He's a really fun guy.
Oh, yeah, and really topical stuff, man. You get all that inside info on Kavanaugh there. He has proof that Kavanaugh lied. Oh, did you hear that tape he played? He has that tape with that guy, Irvin.
Reed Irving or something, right?
Yeah.
I didn't listen to the full tape yet. I listened to some bits and pieces of it, but I mean, it's pretty crazy stuff. I mean, the whole, I don't want to give away too much, although I assume most of my listeners probably heard him on your show talking, but I mean, the weird questions of a sexual nature that Kavanaugh was asking and then denied that it ever happened, and then there's like tons of physical evidence that he did say it. You know, memos, things where he's with Chris Ruddy, the Newsmax CEO, saying, "Don't worry, Brett, I won't bring up the questions," and voicemails between, Ruddy and Kavanaugh and other people saying, "Yes, we did ask him, these inappropriate sexual questions." Really, yeah, no, it's fascinating stuff. It's crazy. We were just talking in the first hour with JP Sottile about, all of these, the MAGA red wave. But it's like the Kavanaugh stuff is pretty terrifying. Given how much this guy loves the idea of like unlimited presidential power. And it's fascinating to see that, decades back he got his start as Ken Starr's little minion and basically protecting the Clintons. Yeah. So that should put a little bit of perspective when he throws his temper tantrums about Bill and Hillary and how they're going after him. Well, he absolutely covered up whatever their knowledge was of Vince Foster's death. But Ed, it is election day. You said you didn't vote. Is there anything interesting going on in Nevada?
Real quick though, back to Kavanaugh, because that Reed Irvin tape, if you listen to that tape, he's laughing about the cover-up.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's incredible stuff. Yeah, and then he says to her, "You're not taping this, are you?" And Irvin goes, "Oh, no." He says, right. "Oh, you got to be kidding me!" And he says, "Well, is that a yes or a no?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I tape everything." Yeah, so they got him. Anything going on here in Nevada? Oh boy, man! I tell you, the phone calls and the commercials are just non-stop, man. It just gives you a headache, man. But there's some funny stuff. This Sisolak is the Democrat running for a governor here against Adam Laxalt, which was like Paul Laxalt's son, And so they got this new commercial. It's the greatest one you've ever heard in your life, where there's two versions. The long version, they say that if Sisolak gets elected, they're going to double your taxes. Wow. And then they go, and it's going to sound like, and then something like this might happen. And they play a tape of a woman calling her doctor's office trying to make an appointment for her daughter. But my daughter is sick. Sorry, Sisolak made a new law. You gotta call Washington, D.C. But please, my daughter is sick. It's the greatest thing in the world. But, you just gotta wonder who falls for that kind of stuff. It's like
yeah. Well, it's funny because we didn't talk about this in the first hour, so maybe we'll get into it a little bit with you here, Ed. I mean, the healthcare issue is a big one, it seems. And it seems like it's one of those issues where it's actually everyone more or less is in agreement. Nobody wants to lose coverage, pre-existing conditions and things of that nature. And knock on wood, but the idea of some form of universal health care seems more likely now than it did a couple of years ago. It seems like that is that the healthcare issue is getting to such a degree. People are maybe unhappy about Obamacare, fine, but they're not necessarily happy about the, what might lie ahead. More private insurance companies kind of screwing people over. So it's funny, you say like who falls? I don't know. I mean, because in my mind, at least, or my perspective, reading the tea leaves, the healthcare question, people seem to, maybe they don't like the idea of, I don't know, some bureaucrat in Washington, you gotta call him to get an appointment for your daughter. But at the same time, I don't know, I think people are more and more kind of open to some form of reform when it comes to healthcare and offering, more, because again, the whole pre-existing conditions, I mean, that is not universal healthcare, but that is like a component of universal healthcare, whether people, these right-wingers want to admit it or not. So I don't know, what do you think about that? Because I do wonder who kind of falls for this stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could tell you, I'm sure there are definitely some people we could think of that do fall for this kind of crap. But I don't know. I do wonder about the healthcare issue. That one seems to be one that across the board, Republican, Democrat, they do seem to be sort of, walking a very narrow line when it comes to that. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think that this whole medical insurance is the greatest con game ever to come. Even Donald Trump must blush when he sees this scam. Okay, that here I am. They want to take whatever it is, $500,000 a month from me, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not going to go to build a hospital. Or to purchase drugs or to pay a salary of a doctor. Oh no. Oh no. It's going to go to an insurance company that again is not going to provide me any kind of medical care. They're not going to send me a medication or a pill or anything like that. Or send a nurse to my house. They're going to sell me a plan.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them money and they're going to give me a piece of paper. Right? And that piece of paper has some fancy words on it. And what it says is, well, when you get sick, we're going to present this plan to the doctor and pay the bill for you. When meanwhile, you got to sue everybody involved, even if you want that. You know what I'm saying? And you can't even pull that off if you really need it. First of all, take insurance companies out of the whole equation. They have nothing to do with medical coverage or providing medical care to people. Everyone, a small amount should come out of our paycheck each week and go directly to a fund to build hospitals, to pay doctors' salaries, directly to where we need it. And when you show up there and you need it, it's free. Like, what is so complicated about that? It's just like, and we don't have an insurance company for the post office or for the library. You know what I mean? For any other service provider, an insurance company for the military, So it's a basic, I don't know how we fell for this con game. To involving insurance companies into any of this, man, it's the last thing we need is insurance companies. And it's not like they're starving. It's not like the insurance companies are broke. They're making a ton of money off of this. And meanwhile, we've got the highest healthcare expenses on the whole planet and some of the worst care you can possibly get. It's a really simple solution, man. It's just, again, people just fall for these cons.
Yeah, no, I was already getting bombarded, the past couple of days, like every day, I get 2 or 3 emails, reminding me to sign up for health insurance and you got to do it right this second. And then of course when I do go to sign up, I get a federal email saying sign up immediately, you're going to lose your coverage, the sky is falling. But New York State doesn't actually let me sign up until the 16th. So cause I don't even go through the federal government. I have to go through my state whatever exchange. I mean, it's such I don't get why people like are I mean, what we have now does suck. I'm not denying that at all. But like, either way, it always sucked. I don't understand why, You know what, man? It actually didn't. When I was a kid, in the 60s, 1965, the doctor would come to our house. We would have a house call. The doctor would come to your home with his little black bag, his medical, like Marcus Welby. He would come to your house and give you a shot right there. You didn't even have to get out of bed when you were sick. Somehow they afforded to do that back then, what happened? It's just a bunch of crap. Yeah, and now you think we got all this, great medicine now, right? But you have to go, like right now I'm dealing with a thing, I need a prescription every month, right? And I gotta go back to the freaking doctor to get a prescription and get it refilled. I gotta pay this guy every time,
Like, what the hell do you need that for? I know what I need. It's documented what I need. And what do we even need these doctors for anyway? Because they're just going on the computer anyway and putting in these symptoms and checking it out. I watch them do it right in front of my own eyes. What do we need them for? Okay, fine. There's abuse and people abusing painkillers and stuff like that. We don't want that. Although they seem to want that. Okay. And they seem to want everybody addicted to heroin, and it seems to be working. Because I was just down at the courthouse the other day for like 2.5 hours, and every defendant in there was addicted to heroin or some kind of opiates. So they definitely don't tell me they're trying to prevent that because they want that. So this whole business about in other countries too. It used to be in Mexico, you can get a prescription. You need to go to a doctor. You just went to the pharmacist and tell them what your problem was, and they give you the prescription. So there's a lot of things we could cut out of this whole medical crap. But when I was a kid, man, it wasn't like this. It wasn't. My dad didn't have a lot of money, but we went to the doctor when we were sick. Now I can't go to the doctor, and I just had to pay a $700 fine, to the income tax people, man, because I didn't sign up for this bull.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
No, it is a nightmare. It is.
It's crazy.
And again too, it's so funny. I like the people that are just, it's like, oh God, socialized medicine is the first step towards, the imminent collapse and whatever. But even in these like real conservative right-wing European countries, where you have, Donald Trump type figures in power, they're not getting rid of socialized medicine. Like it still exists and all. I don't see like, obviously I'm sure you can find right wingers, in alternative media and stuff, bitching about, whatever, insurance and the healthcare system in wherever they live in Europe. But, I don't see them stopping that, they still go. And it is like the alternative is like, it's sort of just like, well, fine. I'm for that. And then maybe no other socialized things in the world. Fine. Whatever. But yeah, it just seems, I don't know. I do think that the tides are changing a little bit with that one. I think as the insurance companies continue to screw over everybody, I think that will change a little bit.
I agree with you, and when they say, well, how are you going to pay for it, here in the United States, we have the biggest army in the whole world, the biggest
just
military in history. But the thing is, the idea that we have this army is to protect us, to save our lives. I don't want the Chinese coming in here and killing Pierce Redmond, so we have an army to stop them from coming over, right? Yeah. So we spend all that money to save your life. How come when you get sick, we don't give a damn about you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We got the money. We got a whole plan to protect you from getting shot by the Chinese.
Right. Right.
Or by the Hondurans or whatever, but when it comes to poor old Pierce Redmond gets cancer, well, hey, Pierce, you're on your own, man. Buy a wig, get a hat.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Pray that, you make it.
Yeah, because there's nothing out there, man.
Yeah. I know. I mean, it's, I guess so. You people are so kind of caught up in it that I think there are people that hear this like robocalls or political ads and they say, oh my God, Whereas again, and it's like, but what's the alternative that this guy running for governor in Nevada has when it comes to healthcare?
Oh, it's the same old. He's a Democrat, and it's the same old thing. Oh, we have to have this insurance company. We have to pay them. The government's going to subsidize whatever those stupid plans are. They're all crap. Listen, both the Democrats and the Republicans are both capitalists. Okay, they're on the same team. They're on the same side. Okay, they're not. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. But what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh yeah, one of the things too with medical care, health coverage, is the increase we're seeing these days of mental illness. Okay, and you see it everywhere you go. It seems to be the greatest problem in the courts with crime. Or people with mental illness. The homeless problem is usually mental illness. Problems within families that cause divorce, that cause suicides. All this stuff is mental health, man. And we do nothing. There's no mental health care in this country, whatever. And even what the stuff that they do have is a bunch of crap. Just feed you some pills and stuff like that and a little talk therapy. We need to really, really get a grip on the real core problems in society, not just in this country either, too, in society. Otherwise, what the hell are we even doing? What are we working for, man, to fight the good fight? If we can sit next to someone and watch them talking to themselves and torture,
Well, Ed, I mean, we got to stop that caravan from coming up here. Right?
Well, yeah, I agree with you there, man. Hey, did you see this new report came out that they released the military PowerPoint of their plan to deal with this caravan, and in the military's own plan, it says that they're not worried about these Hondurans. The biggest threat that they're worried about are these right-wing militias stealing their equipment down there at the border, and it's in their plan.
Really?
I posted the link up on my Facebook, man. I'll send it to you later. It's hysterical.
Jesus.
Yeah. And then the Joint Chiefs of Staff, for the Army said, well, no, we're not going to be preventing any immigrants from crossing the border. That's not our job. We're not going to be interfering with that. We're here to put up barbed wire and,
I saw that they're putting out all this barbed wire right now.
Yeah.
The whole caravan thing, it just is, I can't believe that's what people are voting on,
Yeah.
That has sort of captivated so many people. I mean, it is, and it's like, it's the oldest trick in the book when it comes to politics, is, the immigrants, blame it on the immigrants. I mean, it wasn't exactly that long ago that everyone was, oh God, the Irish are coming.
Yeah.
Like caravans of the Irish. And it's, I don't know, it's funny to me that just is always a sort of like tried and true, when all else fails, go back to the immigrants.
Yeah.
And everyone just kind of like buys into it.
Yeah, and these same people, coming across, by the way, too, forget this caravan. People land in planes every day here from foreign countries, you know what I mean? And they overstay their visas. They come in, people drive back and forth that border in cars all day long with the right to drive back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that this group is more of a danger than all of the people coming into this country every day from different ports all over the place is ludicrous to begin with. But the thing is, I don't know what New York is like these days here, but there's a lot of South Americans and Central Americans and Latin Americans here in Nevada. We see them all day long at the car wash. You see them. They come to your house to do repairs. They live next door. Their kids go to school with our kids. These people aren't a threat. They're not a danger to anybody. We socialize with them. We work with them and talk to them and meet them every day. They're out in front of Home Depot. I drive right past them every morning. It's not like if there was double the amount, it wouldn't make a big difference. We can absorb these people. This isn't a big deal. But you start talking about that, and right away, oh, you're a globalist and Soros and all this weird, crazy stuff that's out there, just percolating like it's almost normal. Like this kind of talk is normal.
Oh yeah, totally. No, it's become. That's the one aspect of it that's a little kind of like shocking to me is like how kind of like normalized it's become, that people truly believe that the caravan, is full of ISIS, members of ISIS, again, because that's the easiest fucking way for a terrorist from the Middle East to get here is let me fly to Guatemala and walk. And walk. Yeah, exactly, and walk all the way. I mean, listen, they would just fly into America.
They charter their own planes. They do it all the time. Obama had a plane. He had his own plane. Not Obama. Bin Laden.
Yeah. No. Well, that's what I was saying. Yeah. No, I mean, exactly. It's just it's like, the 9/11 hijackers all legally just flew here. They just came here and helped fly planes into the World Trade Center. They didn't need to get in a caravan in Central America and walk all the way up there. I mean, it's just like logically think about it. Why would they even do that? Like what are they going to get out of that? And then, this weird, like, I'm sure you've seen it. I mean, it was more popular, I think, on like Fox Business. But that they had leprosy and, these uncurable forms of polio and all these other things. I mean, come on. Like, you really buy that?
Did you hear the comedian who said that and all the women are pregnant and the babies they're carrying are pregnant too?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, man, people just sit here like it's normal to send 5,000 soldiers down to the Mexican border. That's just normal. And then to send militia down there, and supposedly bikers are going down there too. This is all just normal. And Soros is paying for it somehow, and Tom Sire and Bloomberg is paying for it. And this is all just normal conversation. Like, this is something that's reality.
No, it really. I mean, I'll say that in terms of this election, and we'll have to see how it turns out. But the way that people's reality has been so warped.
Oh yeah.
By Trump and this rhetoric. I mean, that in and of itself is quite terrifying. That, I mean, the caravan thing, jobs, not mobs. I mean, that's like a campaign slogan. That people are actively believe that. And again, it's just it's not even, we talked about this in the first hour. It's not even just that they're going to come and take, kill people. It's that white culture will be diluted, by that again, the ethnic makeup will shift in such a way that, oh God, we won't be. And the funny thing is they're all afraid, they're going to replace us. And it's you've already been replaced, you've never really had that sort of power because you're essentially, you're poor. It's yes, white people have always been in power, but they're all rich. It doesn't matter if more, people from El Salvador come here. You're still screwed. It doesn't matter. You're not part of the 1% that actually dictates your life.
Yeah, but not only that, man, if they're going to come and replace, and you, on the one hand, you're saying they're going to come and replace me and take my job. But on the other hand, you're saying that they're all on welfare and they're all drug dealers. So what kind of job do you got? You're worried about somebody replacing you. There's that. And then the common theme we're going through here. There's this weird disconnect where everyone's just gone nuts and just believes anything. You know what I mean? Starting from the whole thing with why we put up with this crazy medical system where we're paying an insurance company to go see a doctor. It's the craziest thing in the world. But what about this whole thing about the mobs? Okay, the Democrats, they're bullies and they're mobs, but at the same time, they're also snowflakes. You can't make up your mind. And they just, out of both sides of your mouth, sometimes the same meme will have both, This is both of them. It's just, we've lost our minds in the past. Mm-hmm. We got a reality TV star as president of the United States of America,
I know. Yeah. And not a very good one, Yeah. It's like a watch. It's like a C, D-list celebrity.
Right.
I mean, that's the other thing too. I mean, I don't think people, again, maybe it's like in middle America, The Apprentice was really cool or something. But I mean, again, no one in New York thought that this guy was anything. Right. I mean, he's a whiny, fat guy. I mean, I never ever watched The Apprentice. I just refused to. Out of principle. But, it's not, even so, even if his ratings were amazing, it's what does that even mean? And it's they call Obama is too much of a celebrity for them.
We used to watch it about 13 years ago when my daughter was 5, 6 years old, because she used to call the show Donald Trump, You're Fired.
Yeah, no, it's a joke.
Yeah, right. But if you notice, too, because I was just talking to Stuttering John. I just interviewed Stuttering John the other day from Howard Stern show. Most of those people, those Apprentice contestants, were those Howard Stern, like Dee Snider, there was all those Howard Stern people, and they went later on became Apprentice guests and combatants, And then he takes Omarosa and puts her in the White House, and she's taping everybody. What the?
No, it is who's in charge here?
Yeah, imagine the chaos we see out in the where we sit. Can you imagine the chaos that's going down there behind the scenes that we don't see?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if they can pull Kanye West, okay, they were with him all that day. You know what I mean? He didn't just walk into the room that day.
Right.
At that moment, someone's walking you through there. Like, they didn't see any signs that this guy was having a manic breakdown right before their eyes, and they still put him on live TV in this weird presser where, it's not even staged right, where it's not even like a good shot where you could see both at the same time. It's just chaos.
Yeah, no, I know. I was listening to your take on that, with what's his name?
Khashoggi?
No, Jim Brown.
Jim Brown, you're right.
Just, kind of falling asleep next to him, I didn't even get why the hell he was there.
He's always been an activist, and he's always been a cool guy. Jim Brown, by the way, too, when the night of the OJ murders, right after the chase, he went on TV and he says, well, everybody's always known that the OJ's dealing coke.
Absolutely. I mean, that's sort of how I know more about Jim Brown is sort of on the OJ side of things.
Right.
But I was just like, what in the hell is he doing at the White House with Kanye West? And talking about, yeah, right, exactly. Right.
What do they have in common? Well, they're both black.
And apparently I guess they don't like kneeling at football games.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if Kanye doesn't really. That seemed to be the only reason Jim Brown was there, was just to reiterate that fact to anybody that would listen to him. It's a troubling time we seem to be in, and I guess in the first hour we were definitely talking a little, the more sort of like terrifying kind of like neo-fascist strain that seems to be coming to fruition with Trump, particularly during this midterm stuff. But I think it's also worth being to have a little bit of fun with this. So what do you think about Ted Cruz and Beto O'Rourke? Because I'm sort of two minds. I would love to see Ted Cruz lose, and just kind of disappear, ride off into the sunset. And there was a recent article, I can't remember what it was in. I think it might have been Vanity Fair. I'll try to find it. My girlfriend sent it to me at the time, but it was talking about basically how much Ted Cruz's wife hates him, for sort of ruining her life because of his awful political career. But at the same time, part of me is also like, I don't want to see Ted Cruz disappear forever, because what would life be like without, good old Ted Cruz? So what do you think of what do you want to see with that? And what, any kind of predictions? That was one of the races we didn't talk about in the first hour.
Well, again, too, Ted Cruz, you can see the videos of his daughter when he goes to try and kiss his daughter on the campaign trail. She's pulling away from him. She wants to be part of it. He's a piece of work all by himself. Now, once again, Cruz and Beto, whatever he is, they're both capitalists again. So, you know what I mean? They're on the other team. They're not my team. And I gotta wonder, we bring in these, Democrats, so-called progressive, so-called liberal, whatever you want to call them, Democrats to come in. Do we really want that? Because we see when this right-wing nut Trump comes in, and he lets out what he is. He takes the hood off and he shows us what he is. The Nazi white nationalist comes right out and says it. There is a backlash to that. People get nervous and they come out and they want to resist that. They want to resist it with everything in their body, which is what we need. And we see that with the rise of Trump, this alt-right Proud Boys, they're all getting up, and they're coming out, and they're showing who they are and what they want, and we know what they want. So do we want to make compromises and bring in these half lukewarm types, even Bernie Sanders, these lukewarm candidates? Do we want to bring them in there, or do we want them to put the hammer? Because that's the old theory, the more oppression, the more police oppression there is upon us, the more people will rise up and resist and finally burn this place down and build it up correctly. So Beto, or I guess the situation right now with the way Congress is, we got to get Trump out of there, and the process we have to our hands right now is the impeachment process and this Mueller report. So I would say, let's get some Dems in there just to try and even up the field, right? I
was saying that before. It's almost worth voting Democrat, even if you, and again, I don't believe in them or like them. I don't identify with them, and maybe we could even talk about here in New York this I don't know, love affair with Ocasio Cortez, who's talk about lukewarm, phony socialist. Yeah. I mean, she is the ultimate of all of that. But there is something to be said for just, balancing power. I mean, I know that we all have our principles and our political viewpoints and stuff. And I don't know, maybe this makes me sound and I kind of hate using this term, but like a boomer. But also, let's live in reality. We're not, we don't have the space right now for a socialist revolution, happening. That's just, it's not happening right now. Let's live in reality and put something of a check on Donald Trump. Because if you don't have that, that's a little terrifying to think about the Congress being Republican, the presidency, and for all intents and purposes, the Supreme Court. Yeah. And with the more kind of psychotic lunatics, puppeteering Trump. So, that's a little scary. It's worth it in just in that sense. Again, in a practical sense. I know I'm repeating myself. I was talking about this in the first hour as well, but, I don't know. There's something to be said for that. And I know what you mean, Ed, when you come to like, do we need people like, I think Beto O'Rourke is just a die in the wool establishment Democrat. I don't think there's anything different. When you compare him to Ted Cruz, fine, maybe he looks like some kind of a progressive angel, but he is just, there's also the weird, I don't know how I feel about the whole, he's just a white Irish guy using a like Mexican nickname to obviously gin up to the Hispanic vote. It's like, that's the best you can do. Yeah. Whereas like Cruz, for all of his foibles, actually is Hispanic, Like there's a weird.
Does he admit it?
No, absolutely. No, and he's really Canadian. Yeah. But there's a weird. I don't know. There's something like that race has been particularly interesting for me. In part because I just love to hate Ted Cruz, and he is so amazingly horrible. But there is the optics of that are a little bit strange. I know what you mean though. It's like, would you know that Ted Cruz is Hispanic?
Yeah. But probably. With Cortez, and Sanders, and these other people calling themselves democratic socialists, at least the people who showed up at the Bernie rallies, especially way back in the beginning, they knew what was going on. They knew about the 1%. These people, they were tuned in. They knew what was going on. And we've been able to organize these people, and we put up a great candidate. We put up Amy Vilola. We had no support from the Democratic Party, but we put up a great candidate. We put up a great fight. With that, by organizing these Bernie supporters that aren't afraid of the word socialism, they get that word out there. People hear it, but then when you got to pull them aside, and say, hey, this is what we want. You know what I mean? We don't just want this nonsense, Obamacare, make an insurance company rich. But I got a story for you. Okay, I just thought of. Amy Tarkanian and Danny Tarkanian, that are running here. Danny Tarkanian's running here for Congress, right? And Amy Tarkanian is his wife. And she's a Facebook friend of mine. She's been a Facebook friend of mine for years. Okay. And she used to be the head of the Clark County GOP. Okay. And just recently, good old Amy Tarkanian retweets a tweet by Laura Loomer. Where Laura Loomer is talking about, the right-wing nut is talking about the Veritas chick, right? Is Laura Loomer says that, all these Democrats mail these bombs to themselves. And Amy Tarkanian retweets that.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah.
Right. I did see that. Yes. Continue, Ed.
It gets better. Because, they post the article in Nevada Politics on Facebook, right? And they didn't even come to me, she says. They didn't even come to me and ask, what my real position is on this, right? Mm-hmm. So I started asking her. I says, and she said, what kind of media outlet is that? And I said, well, I'm a media outlet. You're ignoring me. I'm asking you. So she starts answering me. Right? And so not only she says that Laura Loomer has been correct in the past. Now, you got to understand, Laura Loomer came to this town and made a total fool of herself.
With the Nevada shooting, right?
Yes, with these crazy, bizarre theories with Saudi Arabians and all this nonsense that no one believes any of that. No one here locally endorses any of that except for Wayne Allen Root. There's local, you've heard of Wayne Allen Root?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because he used to be a local guy. He lives right by where my daughter lives. He lives right in the next neighborhood. You can walk to his house. But what do you call it? He's the only one who believes this crazy, and he had Laura Loomer on his show too, but he made her kind of back off. But, Tarkanian would not back down from her support of Laura Loomer, even about the Nevada shooting. And when all her supporters were saying, oh yeah, they think that, the Dems mailed themselves these own bombs, Amy Tarkanian was going along with that too. She didn't correct anybody.
Jesus.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, those things that also just shock me. That people like Laura Loomer could sway an election, you know, or influence an election. That her voice matters. Because again, that's also the thing too with all of the, you know, that's like Trump bringing Lionel, you know, from Lionel Media to the White House for a little photo op. I mean, they're also there's a lot of these candidates that are, you know, pandering to these like alt-right or alt-light, you know, internet celebrities like Loomer and others.
Well, they're funding them too.
Yeah, no, I wonder about some of them, you know, but especially like, I mean, Cernovich and stuff. I mean, obviously he's, you know, him and Dershowitz, they're up to something. You know, Cernovich is getting money somehow. I don't think it's all from his, his ex-wife's alimony payments that she was paying to him.
The Mercers and the coaches and the Cokes and stuff like that, they're funneling money to all these guys. Veritas is getting funding. These guys, Neil Sanders is doing some great work on this, researching all that. And Grant Stern just came out and he did the same research. He's come up with the same results. They're all getting funding. We're on the wrong side, man. Yeah, man. Well, we could be getting a paycheck, you know, just all we got to do is lie to people, tell them what they want to hear and pick their pockets, man. We're on the wrong side of history. We are.
Yeah, exactly. I know. We could be, you know, making books and movie deals like some of them do, and you know.
Hey, that reminds me. I want to ask you: did you get contacted by a production company in L.A.? We'll talk off the air.
I don't think so. I think I know what you're referring to.
Yeah, because they contacted every one of my guests.
Yeah, I don't think they got to me.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe. I've been getting a lot of weird emails. I keep getting these emails from these, like, I don't know what they are, like web marketers, you know, and they keep following up, and asking me like weird questions about like other people's websites.
Oh,
you
really?
know? Yeah, like, about marketing and PayPal things and, you know, it's bizarre. I don't know. You know, just sometimes you get in that phase where you're just getting a bunch of like weird emails like all the time.
Yeah.
It's just like that lately. I don't know. It's like nonstop with these weirdo emails. I think I might have just got another one right now. Anyway, Ed Opperman is with us from the Opperman Report. Is there anything else election wise that you wanted to get into or touch on? You know, I know there's still some other issues out there related to the election. So anything you wanted to touch on?
Well, you know, I never miss an opportunity to talk about Kevin L. Child, our Clark County school board trustee here.
Oh, is he like involved in the elections or?
Yes, I thought when we were at the primary, I thought he lost. I don't know what happened, but he's back on the ballot. And he's got some support from these local nuts. But this is a guy, he's running for school board trustee, and he was actually banned from visiting schools. As a school board trustee, the school board banned him from visiting the schools because he was allegations of sexual harassment of women, making people uncomfortable. He went into a classroom and started talking about his wife's suicide to little third graders and fourth graders. He went to another classroom and told them, hey, you know, snitches get stitches. That's what he tells these little kids. So he's running again. We actually went to one of the hearings where he was being exposed initially. Because I've known this guy for years too. He's been an internet troll for years and years and years. I finally had to block him. Yeah. And, so when it came out, he was talking about, and this is as a school board trustee, saying, well, you know what? If I saw Black Lives Matter and they weren't walking through the crosswalk, can I run them over?
Oh, God.
Yeah. And then he said, too, that the Mexican kids, they're all illegal aliens in the school and they need to learn English, love it, learn it, love it. All this bizarre stuff. But I had blocked him years before that because he used to hate the poor, too. He doesn't just hate Mexicans and blacks and scare children. He hates the poor, too. And our last fight was, he was upset because he saw some illegals. He was sure there were illegals at the supermarket at Memorial Day or 4th of July or something buying hot dogs for their barbecue. God. And he said they didn't have a right to barbecue, man, on an American holiday. This is who's running over here. Now, imagine if this guy showed up in New York and tried to run.
Yeah, well, it's fun. You mentioned crazy people running there. I mean, we would talk about this off the air, but for the Attorney General here in New York, that was on the ballot, and none other than Nancy Sliwa was running, who is Curtis Sliwa's fourth wife. I believe I got that correct. This is his fourth wife, and Curtis Sliwa is, of course, the one of the Guardian Angels, or the founder, I guess, of the Guardian Angels. So he's the moron who wears the red beret and the red jacket. I think he still has a radio show here in New York. And his wife, Nancy, was running. So, I mean, you want to talk about like nut jobs. I mean, the two of them are insane. Did you ever meet Sliwa in person, Ed?
I've met him in person a couple of times back before he ever had a radio show or anything like that. Just subway stuff, back in New York, Lower East Side.
Oh, okay.
Back then. Then also too, when I was involved with Art Bell, and Art Bell came to town for a book signing, and I was hanging out that day, Sliwa came because they were doing some radio shtick back and forth, Art Bell and Curtis Sliwa. Mm-hmm. And Sliwa showed up with his guardian angels at a table, to protest Art Bell. Showed up there, and I saw him again that day. But otherwise, that's about it. But when you say his wife is running, she's running away or she's running for office?
She's running for office.
Okay. Yeah. I thought you were saying she's running for the border to beat those Hondurans.
No. Well, maybe to stop him, right? Guardian Angel. No, yeah, she's. I mean, I doubt she's going to get any. I think she's running on the Reform Party, for Attorney General. I mean, there's no way she's going to beat. I can't even remember who the Democrat was, because I did not vote for that for Attorney General. But there's no way he's going to lose.
There's a nice little scandal with Sliwa that goes way back where when Giuliani was mayor, he gave them a building. He gave the Guardian Angels a building, worth like, $600,000-$700,000, just for free.
Really?
Yeah, you look that up.
Do what with?
To house their empire and to have their patrols headquartered there and all kinds of stuff. God. Gave them a building. Can you imagine?
Yeah. I was talking about this, last week off the air, Chuck and I. Somehow we were talking about Curtis Sliwa, 2 weeks ago or something. But Chuck reminded me of his fake, kidnapping, thing, where he pretended that he got, kidnapped and beaten by some mobsters or something like that. And
that really happened. He was shot. The Gotti family, John Gotti Jr., as a matter of fact, some guy shot him in his cab. He got into a cab and they shot him, and he kicked the windows out and got out of the cab. That really happened. I thought that was
I thought he kind of exaggerated that.
No, he had other staged events, but that one, the cops actually tried to prosecute that several times. They tried to prosecute the Junior Gotti on that. That was a real thing. In fact, there's a couple of movies that came out. You got to go back and look it up. Who are those guys? There were these guys. They called them the Bonnie and Clyde. They were sticking up all the social clubs in New York right around that same time, and they tried to the Gotti family and other organized crime figures in New York put out a couple of movies whitewashing that whole thing, where they tried to blame him for the murder of Sliwa, which is totally crazy, but also too because they shot him and his girlfriend, and it's very unusual for the in New York for them to shoot a civilian. And so they did a whole movie trying to make up an excuse about how she was one of the gunmen as well. But everybody who knows those stories knows that she was just an innocent bystander. And this guy was robbing down. He was taking down all the social clubs, going in there, making them take their pants off and their clothes off and feel each other up and stuff. Yeah. Wow. And he was getting away with it. And he lived right next to some of these people. So, and when it all came out, people thought, and this, they knew who it was doing it. I forget his name. You got to look it up. Maybe I could find it.
Yeah. No. That sounds like a good topic for an episode.
I did a couple shows about it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good. But Sliwa is just he's a real like New York, character. I've seen him before. I've mentioned this before. I saw him at the Golden Glove Championships in Brooklyn a couple of years ago. It's same red hat, red beret, great seats too. He was like ringside, of course. And he still kind of like struts around like he's actually like a meaningful person. And I don't know, the whole guardian angel thing, I just think the whole thing is weird. I know that, I think at a time in a place in the 80s in New York, it probably, you did feel safe if you had some big, burly guy on the train kind of looking out. But the Sliwa is the guy is dirty as the day is long. And he's involved in there's a lot of money stuff going on with the guardian angels, and Sliwa is quite wealthy from all of this. So you got to wonder too, what's the deal with that?
Yeah, I grew up, when it was going on, and it was a little two-sided thing, because when you were alone on the subway in the middle of the night and you saw some guardian angels, you kind of felt okay, because it was dangerous in the subways back in those days. But on the other hand, if you were out with a couple of your buddies hanging out, and these guys, they wanted to start fights with you too.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't all. And there was this great story about this guy who lived on Staten Island who he started a rival group called the Angel Guardians. With the same outfit. And we used to see him all the time because he used to be on the ferry terminal all the time. And he had the same beret, the same red and white shirt, but with the letters, in reverse, Angel Guardians. And he used to get into fights with the Guardian Angels all the time. He had a little crew, like 5 guys and stuff. So I've always tried to track him down and see if I could interview him. And
that would be a great one. Or get him in. I
found the community guy. You know that, right?
I saw it. Yeah. Did you have him on?
Yeah, it's in a part 2. A lot of people don't listen to the second hour,
Okay.
Yeah, it was a good show though. Maybe I'll replay it this week because I got no guest or anything.
Okay. No, if anyone's listening wants to be a guest on Ed Opperman's show, please get in contact with him. I saw that you had the community. I've been so behind on listening to shows lately. Yeah. I've been listening to anything. I mean, again, it's part of the work has been stressful, but also, it's hard when it's like all you hear about is this sort of horrific news and the election and the migrants are coming and all it's difficult to kind of just find the time to sit down and listen to a podcast, whereas it's like I'd rather just watch some mindless crap on TV or binge a silly show or something like that. But I'm sure you've been going through the same thing.
Yeah, sit and watch YouTube, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because YouTube is making us go crazy. I've got this guy coming on too, who's done a whole thing about these iPhones. He wrote a whole book about it and stuff like that. Did like a TED talk or something, and about how these iPhones are making people depressed, And when you look at this is a brand new thing, man. This is 10 years, and now the whole entire country. I'm looked at like a freak because I don't carry an iPhone around. Everyone's got an iPhone. Everyone's staring at this iPhone 24 hours a day. My kid's sitting in a chair. She falls asleep. I wake her up to go to bed. She's got her phone in her hand as she's sleepwalking to bed, right? Because you got to bring your phone to bed with you, right? This is a brand new addiction that the whole freaking country has all at once. But I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure this will work out fine for us. There are no problems here because they got our best interests in mind.
You know what's a thing that I'm sort of now more cognizant of, because at times my girlfriend will make a not a big deal about it, but she'll just be like, "That's kind of disgusting." Is we all take, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here. Every one of us has taken our phone into the bathroom,
True.
And you're there, you're taking a dump, and you're reading, you're on Twitter, you're tweeting, whatever. And unless you've been living under a cave, when you flush the toilet, fecal particles spray everywhere, I mean, so they're definitely on your screen. And then you get into bed with your phone, and your phone is on your pillow. It's kind of disgusting, when you think about it. But it's become so ubiquitous. But I've become more like aware of that. Like I don't throw my phone on my bed anymore, or I feel gross when I'm like looking at it in bed, thinking about, because it's like, when's the last time you've cleaned your phone, like in that manner, You're not taking Clorox and wiping down the screen. We probably should. Let alone you're on the toilet. I mean, I know this is kind of disgusting, but you're on the toilet tweeting, and then you're taking a phone call, you're putting it up to your ear. Not to mention the microwaves and stuff. But yeah, I mean, the phone, it's funny you mentioned that too, because again, that seems to be like the key way that a lot of this, with the midterms and stuff, getting people to vote has all been through like text messages.
Yep.
I was listening to earlier today at C-SPAN, they had this woman on, from some voter registration, I don't know, not company, because I think it's a nonprofit, but, and she was just sort of talking about, that's the main way we get people to go out and vote is continual text messages. There's also a lot of like false text messages out there, telling people, oh, your voting place isn't in this area, or, this is when you can vote, or the polls close later than they actually do. So yeah, it's crazy how much it's all coming in through our phone. Be it, how we vote and then later, of course, it's just like you said, you sleep with it, which again, it's also, it can't possibly be good having this thing. First, you get the phone in your pocket by your genitals, So again, I mean, God knows what kind of waves and sort of stuff that, Wi-Fi is supposedly not good for you. And then you're holding it up to your head, you're falling asleep with it. It keeps you up at night as well. Yeah, I mean, we could probably go on and on about just cell phones and, is your daughter just like obsessed with her phone as well, like everybody else is?
Yeah, everyone is. Yeah, her included, and,
yeah.
I think that's one of the smart things I did is not fall into that trap, and carry one of those damn things around all the time because, you should be me and walk around, see everybody staring at their phone.
Yeah. Are you still like rocking a flip phone, Ed?
No, I don't carry a phone. I got an 800
at all.
No. I got an 800 number. If people need to get a hold of me, they call my operator and leave me a message. Okay. I'll get an email if I have my laptop with me.
What do you do though if you're out and about? You just wait until you get home?
If it's something where, listen, if I gotta make a trip or something, I'll get a little flip phone, a little throwaway phone, burner phone. Okay. If. Okay, but usually don't. Usually don't. Otherwise, if I need to text somebody, I have my daughter text me back, but I don't handle it, or if I'm out with a girl or something like that, hey, text this for me, text that for me, then we'll do it that way, but I don't need to carry a phone.
Wow. Well, good for you, Ed. I think you're like one of the only people I know that doesn't carry around a cell phone. So, I mean, good on you. And you're vegan now as well. I mean, you must be really doing healthy, right?
Well, that's so good. I started drinking again. I'm drinking the coffee. I'm drinking the alcohol again and the sugar. So I put on some weight, but I was really ripped there for a while, man. I was really good. Oh, dude, I was swimming. Yeah, I was swimming every day, hiking every day, and bike riding. I was really putting in hours, man.
Coffee is really a tough one.
Yeah, that's the one. When I start drinking coffee, it makes me lazy. Then I start drinking alcohol, because you get late. You're up late. You want to have a drink.
I fully intend on drinking later when I have to record with Chuck Ocelli.
You recording with Chuck?
Oh yeah, every other Tuesday. So so again, if you need more election related coverage today, then you can tune in from 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern time on Ocelli.com, where Chuck and I we'll probably around that time we'll probably have some early results or stuff in. So we'll probably be kind of breaking down whatever we can with the election. So yeah, if anyone out there feels the need to listen to me talk more about the midterms, then tune in then. Chuck, Ed, I'll hand it over to you for the final couple minutes. Just once again remind the listeners where they can go to hear your work, and if you got any good upcoming shows, please do plug them here. And also just any final words.
Final words, stay away from YouTube. And throw away your phone and stop being a sucker. You can find me, just Google Opperman Report. The show's all over the place. It's on iHeart and iTunes and YouTube. It's all over the place, a bunch of stations. We're on American Freedom Radio. We're on People's Internet Radio, all stations. Is always adding new stuff to the member section. We've got a special member section, a lot of good content in there. You can always find. I don't have a lot of good stuff booked coming up because, we're coming to the holiday season. I'm trying to stack up a bunch of stuff. But I'm working on it, That's about it.
Okay. No rules. No taboo topics. No taboo topics. No fear of doom. No fear of doom. We are American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
Have you experienced the miracle of CBDs? They can help you reduce suffering, reduce stress, help you sleep better, modulate inflammation in the body, and is absolutely safe. Meta Hemp Solutions offers a radically innovative approach to CBDs for exceptional results. Stop suffering and reduce your stress now. Isn't it time for a good night's sleep? Stop worrying about tomorrow today. Lab tested for potency, purity, and is non-psychoactive. Free shipping to all 50 states. Try our product risk-free. Money-back guarantee. Use code AFR15 to get 15% off. That's Alpha Foxtrot Romeo 15 to get 15% off. Offer ends soon, so visit MetaHemp Solutions today at metahempsolutions.com or call 833-858-7500. Suffer no more. Get rid of the stress and sleep better. Get our product now at metahempsolutions.com. That's metahempsolutions.com. Are the trials of modern-day living getting to you? Feeling tired all the time with no energy? Is proper nutrition a challenge? Having trouble sleeping? All of these evils, sleeplessness, tiredness, poor nutrition, and stress, wreak havoc on our bodies and minds. Enerfood, our incredible organic superfood, has been here to save your life day by day for over 14 years. With the densest nutrition on the planet, Enerfood is filled with 20 superfoods and super herbs designed to cure the evils of modern life. Enerfood will turn you into a superhero, and your family and friends will notice. Don't you want that get-up-and-go feeling you need to seize the day? Why wait? Try it today and start feeling great again. Order now at www.enerfood.com and use the code TR15 for 15% off. Or call 866-762-9238 to place your order by phone. Use code TR15 for 15% off Enerfood at www.enerfood.com.
Tell the truth. Don't be bullshitting people. There's enough bullshit as it is. In fact, there's just enough. Did you know that? There's just enough bullshit to hold things together in this country. Bullshit is the glue that binds us as a nation. Where would we be without our safe, familiar American bullshit? Land of the free, home of the brave, the American dream. All men are equal, justice is blind, the press is free, your vote counts. Business is honest, the good guys win, the police are on your side, God is watching you, your standard of living will never decline, and everything is going to be just fine. The official national bullshit story. I call it the American okie doke.
You're listening to AmericanFreedomRadio.com, the network who perseveres in delivering intelligent debate, constructive dialogue with true independence. The freedom to broadcast the truth is not free at all. So what is American Freedom Radio worth to you? The empowering information with fun, honest and pure integrity behind it provides an example to follow. Friendships to flourish with the moral altruism that pulls no punches. The hosts sacrifice and show remarkable discipline in their duty to deliver quality radio and service to the community with strength, wisdom and loyalty. The founders of AFR wish to thank you personally for sharing your views and insights to make the best radio and alternative media. Now it's time for you to give something back and play a vital role in the future of America. Be as generous with us as we've been with you. Click on the donate banner at AmericanFreedomRadio.com or volunteer by emailing AmericanFreedomRadio@ymail.com. Vaccine, psychotropic drugs and artillery batteries not included.
Launch sequence initiated.
We're now in the approach phase. Everything looking good. Control is good. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
Prepare your mind to experience American Freedom Radio.